In this video, I'm going to be discussing constructional approaches versus counter conditioning for horses being introduced to a novel and spooky object. So the first approach I am going to do here is called a constructional approach. And this is something that I think most people are going to be familiar with, except there is a little bit of nuance that gets missed. So a constructional approach is when we approach an object, such as this, until the horse displays a moderate level of interest in the object, and then we move away using distance as our reinforcer for approaching the object. So essentially, the horse is going to look at a thing, be a little bit worried, but not in that zone of flight, and then we move away. And we repeat this until the horse is willingly approaching said object. And this is called a constructional approach. So here Samwise is approaching this spooky net that they use for Pony Club Rally. And I'm waiting for him to take a look at the object. I'm manipulating the object, waiting for him to take some interest in it. And see him looking a little worried here. He's a bit frozen. I get a little ear twitch. I get a little lowering of the head. I move away. And I'm not looking for him to interact with the object. I'm not looking for anything exciting. All we're looking for is just a brief introduction to the object, staying underneath or threshold levels, and just being quietly and calmly introduced to this. So we're going to see that I repeat this several times, and that Samwise, by the end of this video, is going to be confidently approaching this object. Here we are, confidently approaching, taking a really good look at it this time, sniffing it, not having a big reaction to the sniff like he had previously. You'll notice the slack in my line, not forcing him to interact at all. He's a little bit frozen here, looking away. So I'm just going to wait for him to relax, soften, interact, and move away from the object. So this is a constructional approach, and what's really important is that you give the horse a good amount of time away from the object as part of the reinforcement strategy. I've sped up the moments where I'm standing away from it. So now I've upped the ante. I'm going to lift up the object and move it around. He's actually distracted by something else in the environment, so I'm waiting for him to come back. There we are. I'm going to interact with the object, and you'll notice that I don't interact with the object at him. A little shake off there. We're going to walk towards the object, but you notice that I am not forcing him to interact. There's no pressure here for him to do anything with the object. Good. And then we walk away. So that is your constructional approach to training. And this is something that is really useful when you're dealing with objects where the horse is quite fearful, because you can really allow the horse's true feelings about the object to appear. You're not forcing them to interact with it. You're not overwhelming their nervous system. You're not overshadowing their fear with the presence of something more desirable like food, and then having some rebound effects. This is a nice technique for worried horses or horses who just haven't learned how to take food in a appropriate manner. So this is a great place to start. Our next technique here is going to be a traditional counter conditioning approach using food. So you'll notice that I have him sniff the object, I mark, and then I feed. So he is going to be a little bit distracted by the environment. Going to look at the object, mark, and then I feed. Good. And the mark is a click, and that just tells Samwise that the behavior that he is offering, which is to pay attention to this object, is what I want, and that food will follow. So I'm interacting with the object. He's standing nice and still. I mark and feed. And did you notice there he had a little bit of a worried reaction, a little shift away, but my mark and feed really helps him here. And I lower my criteria a little bit. I make it a little easier because I kind of made him a bit worried. And now I'm going to go back to my constructional approach because I did have a little bit of a fear response. I'm going to move away from the object and I'm going to let him just get a little distance from that thing and just see how he feels about it. And you'll notice that he himself chose to approach it again, so I just let him do it, and I mark and I feed. So it's always a nice test, is if you move away from the thing and the horse is like, you know what, it was way more fun over there, that's a great sign. We're doing good. And for those of you who knew Samwise a year or so ago, this would not have been a possibility. So we are definitely improving a lot with these techniques. And this differs quite a lot from a horsemanship pressure release approach, because I am not applying pressure until he stops. I am simply allowing him to exist in the same space as this object, and we're trying to scientifically figure out how to improve his relationship with this object without overwhelming his nervous system. So again, I'm reapplying a constructional approach. I've actually taken off his lead line here because I was a bit worried that he was feeling pressured by the line to participate, and he obviously wasn't. So I mark and reward, mark and reward. So these are our two techniques. One is a constructional approach. That's where we use space as our reinforcer. And the other is counter conditioning, where we're adding food in order to decrease our feelings around said object. And I know that this video doesn't show a lot of exciting, explosive behaviors or massive changes from beginning to end, and that is by design. I do hope to find some videos of some other horses where we apply these techniques where it's a little bit more obvious, but alas, this is where I wanted to start, and hopefully that was helpful. If you have any questions, let me know.